Aimee and I thought, hi Aimee.
Hi.
Aimee and I thought we'd just talk a little bit, and I wanted her to tell all of you what makes her a distinctive athlete.
Well, for those of you who hadn't seen the picture in the bio, I might have given it away. I'm a double amputee. I was born without fibulas in both legs. I was amputated at age 1, and I've been running like hell ever since, all over the place.
Well, why don't you tell them like how you got to Georgetown? Why don't we just start there?
I'm a senior at Georgetown in the Foreign Service program. I won a full academic scholarship out of high school. They pick 3 students out of the nation every year to get involved with international affairs, and so I won a full ride to Georgetown and been there for 4 years. Love it.
When Aimee got there, she decided that she's kind of curious about track and field. So she decided to call someone and start asking about it. So why don't you tell that story?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've always been involved in sports. I played softball for 5 years growing up. I skied competitively throughout high school, and I got a little restless in college because I wasn't doing anything for about a year or 2 sports-wise. And I'd never competed on a disabled level. You know, I'd always competed against other able-bodied athletes. That's all I'd ever known. In fact, I'd never even met another amputee until I was 17. And I heard, you know, that they do these track meets with all disabled runners, and I figured, I don't know about this, but I figured before I judge it, let me go see what it's all about. So I booked myself a flight to Boston in '95, 19 years old, and definitely the dark horse candidate at this race. I'd never done it before. I went out on a gravel track a couple weeks before this meet to see how far I could run, and about 50 meters was enough for me, panting and heaving. And I had these legs that were made of like a wood and plastic compound attached with Velcro straps, big, thick 5-ply wool socks on, you know, not the most comfortable of things, but all I'd ever known. And I'm up there in Boston against people wearing legs made of all things, carbon graphite. And, you know, shock absorbers in them and all sorts of things. And they're all looking at me like, okay, we know who's not going to win this race, you know. And, I mean, I went up there expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but, you know, when I saw a man who was missing an entire leg go up to the high jump, hop on one leg to the high jump and clear it at 6 feet 2 inches. Dan O'Brien jumped 5'11" in '96 in Atlanta. I mean, if it just gives you a comparison of these are, you know, truly accomplished athletes without qualifying that word, athlete. And so I decided to give this a shot, and you know, heart pounding. I ran my first race, and I beat the national record holder by 0.03 of a second and became the new national record holder on my first try out. And I said, you know, people said, you know, Aimee, you've got speed, you've got natural speed, but you don't have any skill or finesse going down that track. You were all over the place. We all saw how hard you were working. And so I decided to call the track coach at Georgetown. And thank God I didn't know just how huge this man is in the track and field world. He's coached 5 Olympians, and you know, the man's office is lined from floor to ceiling with All-America certificates, you know, of all these athletes he's coached, and just a rather intimidating figure. And I called him up and said, listen, I ran one race and I've won, and I want to see if I can, you know, I need to just see if I can sit in on some of your practices, see what drills you do, whatever. That's all I wanted, just 2 practices. Can I just sit in and see what you do? And he said, well, we should meet first before we decide anything. You know, he's thinking, what am I getting myself into? So I met the man, walked into this office, and saw all these posters and magazine covers of people he's coached. And we got to talking, and it turned out to be a great partnership because he'd never coached a disabled athlete, so therefore he had no preconceived notions of what I was or wasn't capable of. And I'd never been coached before, so this was like, here we go, let's start on this trip. So he started giving me 4 days a week of his lunch break, his free time, that I would come up to the track and train with him. So that's how I met Frank. But that was fall of '95, and then by the winter rolling around, he said, you know, you're good enough, you can run on our women's track team here. And I said, no, come on. You know, and he said, no, really, you can. You can run with our women's track team. So spring of 1996, with my goal of making the U.S. Paralympic team that May, coming up full speed, I joined the women's track team, and no disabled person had ever done that, run at a collegiate level. So I don't know, it started to become an interesting mix.
Well, why don't you tell them, like, on your way to the Olympics, but a couple of memorable events happened at Georgetown. Why don't you just tell them?
Yeah, well, you know, I'd won everything as far as disabled meets, anything I competed in, and, you know, training at Georgetown, knowing that I was going to have to get real used to seeing the backs of all these women's shirts. You know, I'm running against the next FloJo, and they're all looking at me like, what's going on here? And you know, putting on my Georgetown uniform and going out there and knowing that, you know, in order to become better, if I'm already the best in the country, you know, you have to train people who are inherently better than you. And I went out there and made it to the Big East, which was like sort of the championship race at the end of the season. And really, really hot. And it's the first, I had just gotten these new sprinting legs that you see in that bio. And I didn't realize at that time that the amount of sweating that I would be doing in the socket actually acted like a lubricant, and I'd be kind of pistoning in the socket. And at about 85 meters of my 100-meter sprint, in all my glory, I came out of my leg, like almost came out of it in front of like 5,000 people. And I mean, just mortified, and because I was signed up for the 200, you know, which went off in a half hour. I went to my coach and, please don't make me do this. You know, I can't do this in front of all these people. My legs would come off, and if it came off at 85, there's no way I'm going 200 meters. And he just sat there and like this, and you know, my pleas, you know, fell on deaf ears, thank God, because he was like, you know, the man's from Brooklyn. He's a big man. And he says, hey, mate, so what if your leg falls off? You pick it up, you put the damn thing back on, and finish the goddamn race. And I did. So, you know, it sort of, he kept me in line. He kept me on the right track.
So then Aimee makes it to the 1996 Paralympics, and she's all excited. Her family's coming down. It's a big deal. She's now 2 years you've been running?
No, a year.
A year. And why don't you tell them what happened right before you go run your race? Okay,
well, Atlanta. The Paralympics, just for a little bit of clarification, are the Olympics for people with physical disabilities, amputees, persons with cerebral palsy, and wheelchair athletes, as opposed to the Special Olympics, which deals with people with mental disabilities. So, you know, here we are, like a week after the Olympics, and down in Atlanta, and I'm just blown away by the fact that, you know, just a year ago I got out in a gravel track and couldn't run 50 meters. And so here I am, never lost. You know, I set new records at the U.S. Nationals, the Olympic trials that May, and was just, you know, sure of it that I was coming home with the gold. I was also the only, what they call bilateral BK, below the knee. I was the only woman to be doing the long jump. I started the long jump, and a guy who was missing 2 legs came up to me and says, how do you do that? You know, we're not supposed to have a plantar foot so we can't get off on the springboard. I said, well, I just did it. No one told me that. So it's funny, I'm 3 inches within the world record, and kept on from that point. You know, so I'm signed up in the long jump. Signed up. No, I made it to the long jump and the 100-meter. And I'm sure of it, you know, I made the front page, my hometown paper that I delivered for 6 years, you know, it was like this was my time for shine. And we're at the warm-up stadium, Cheney warm-up track, which is a few blocks away from the Olympic Stadium, and these legs that I was on, which I'll take out right now, I was the first person in the world on these legs. I was the guinea pig, and I'm telling you, this was like, talk about a tourist attraction. Everyone was taking pictures of, what is this girl running on? And I'm looking around like, where's my competition? It's my first international meet. I tried to get out of anybody I could, you know, who am I running against here? Oh, Aimee, we'll have to get back to you on that one. I wanted to find out times. Don't worry, don't worry, you're doing great. This is 20 minutes before my race. in Olympic Stadium, and they post the heat sheets. And I go over and I look, and my fastest time, which was world record, was 15.77. Then I'm looking, the next, lane 2 is 12.8, lane 3 is 12.5, lane 4 is 12.2. I said, what's going on? And they shove us all into the shuttle bus, and all the women there are missing a hand. So I'm just like, and they're all looking at me like, which one of these is not like the other, And I'm sitting there like, oh my God. I'd never lost anything, like whether it be this scholarship or, I'd won 5 golds when I skied and everything, I came in first. And Georgetown, that was great, I was losing, but it was the best training because this was Atlanta. But here we are, like creme de la creme, and there is no doubt about it that I'm gonna lose big. And I just thinking, oh my God, my whole family, got in a van and drove down here from Pennsylvania. And, I was the only female U.S. sprinter. So, they called us out and, ladies, you have 1 minute. And I remember just putting my blocks in and just feeling horrified because there was this murmur coming over the crowd, like the ones who are close enough to the starting line to see. And I'm like, I know, look, this isn't right. And I figured that's my last card to play here, is at least, if I'm not going to beat these girls, I'm going to mess their heads a little bit, I mean, it was definitely the Rocky IV sensation of me versus Germany and, everyone else, Estonia and Poland was in this heat. And, the gun went off, and all I remember was, finishing last and, fighting back tears of frustration and incredible, this feeling of just being overwhelmed. And I had to think about, why did I do this? If I'd won everything, and it was like, what was the point? All this training, and I transformed my life. I became a collegiate athlete, became an Olympic athlete. And it made me really think about how, the achievement was getting there. I mean, the fact that I set my sight just a year and 3 months before that on becoming an Olympic athlete and saying, here's my life going in this direction, and I want to take it here for a while. And just seeing how far I could push it, and the fact that I asked for help, how many people jumped on board, how many people gave of their time and their expertise, and their patience to deal with me, and that was like this collective glory, that there was 50 people behind me that had joined in this incredible experience of going to Atlanta. So I mean, I apply this sort of philosophy now to everything I do about like this sitting back and realizing the progression, like how far you've come at this day to this goal. It's important to focus on a goal, I think, but I'll also recognize the progression on the way there and how you've grown as a person. That's the achievement, I think. That's the real achievement.
Why don't you show them your legs?
Oh, sure.
Let's.
Well,
she has more than one set of legs.
Yeah, these are my pretty legs. These are these are my cosmetic legs, actually, and they're absolutely beautiful. You have to come up and see them. They have hair follicles on them, and I can paint my toenails, and like, seriously, I can wear heels. Like women, you guys don't understand what that's like to be able to just go into a shoe store and buy whatever you want.
You got to pick your height?
I got to pick my height, exactly. Patrick Ewing, who played for Georgetown in the 80s, comes back every summer. And I had incessant fun making fun of him in the training room because he'd come in with foot injuries. I'm like, get it off, don't worry about it. You can be 8 feet tall. Just take them off. He didn't find it so humorous, but as I did anyway. Okay, now these are my sprinting legs, made of carbon graphite, like I said. And I gotta make sure I got the right socket. No, I got so many legs in here.
Oh.
These are, you want to hold that actually? Yeah. That's my, that's another leg I have for like tennis and softball. It has a shock absorber in it. So it's like, it makes this neat sound when you jump and run around it. All right. And then this is the silicone thing that I roll over, silicone sheath I roll over to keep it on, which when I sweat, I'm pistoning out of it.
Are you a different height?
In these?
In these?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. I might be a little taller. I can put both of them on.
She can't really stand on these legs. She has to be moving, so.
Yeah, I definitely have to be moving, and these balance is sort of a little bit of an art in them, but without having the silicone sock, I'm just going to try to slip in it. So I run on these, and have shocked half the world on these. These are supposed to simulate the actual form of a sprinter when they run. If you ever watch a sprinter, the ball of their foot is the only thing that ever hits the track. So when I stand in these legs, my hamstring and my glutes are contracted as I would be had I had feet and were standing on the ball of my feet. So it's a company in San Diego called FlexFoot. And I was a guinea pig, and as I hope to continue to be in every new form of prosthetic limbs that come out. But actually, these, like I said, are still the actual prototype. I need to get some new ones because the last meet I was at, it's like it's come full circle.
Aimee and the designer of them will be at TED Med too.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the design of them.
We'll do that.
Yeah, there you go.
So these are the sprint legs, and I put my other
And
feet
tell
that
them about who designed your other leg.
Yeah, and these I got in a place called Bournemouth, England, about 2 hours south of London. And I'm the only person in the United States with these, which is a crime because they are so beautiful. And I don't even mean like because of the toes and everything. It's, for me, while I'm such a serious athlete on the track, I want to be feminine off the track. And I think it's so important, not to be limited in any capacity, whether it's, your mobility or, even fashion. I mean, I love the fact that I can go in anywhere and pick out what I want, shoes I want, the skirts I want. And so I'm hoping to try to bring these over here and make them accessible to a lot of people. They're also silicone. This is like a really basic prosthetic limb under here. It's like a Barbie foot under this. It is. So, I mean, it's stuck in this position. So I have to wear a 2-inch heel. And I mean, it's really, let me take this off so you can, I don't know how good you can see it, but like it really is, there's veins on the feet, and then my heel's like pink, and my Achilles tendon, it moves a little bit. And it's really an amazing piece of work. I got them a year and 2 weeks ago. And this is just a silicone piece of skin. I mean, what happened was 2 years ago, this man in Belgium was saying, God, if I can go into Madame Tussauds Wax Museum and see Jerry Hall replicated down to the color of her eyes, looking so real as if she would breathe, why can't they build a limb for someone that looks like a leg, or an arm or a hand? I mean, they make ears for burn victims. They do amazing stuff with silicone.
2 weeks ago, Aimee was up for the Arthur Ashe Award at the ESPYs. And she came into town and she rushed around and she said, I have to buy some new shoes. We're an hour before the ESPYs, and she thought she'd gotten a 2-inch heel, but she'd actually bought a 3-inch heel.
And this poses a problem for me because it means I'm walking like that all night long. I can't walk.
45 minutes. We had luckily the hotel was terrific. They got someone to come in and saw off the shoes.
I said to the receptionist, I am just harried, and Cheryl's at my side. I said, look, if you have anybody here who can help me with this, I have this problem. Because at first they're just going to write me off, like, look, if you don't like your shoes, sorry, it's too late. No. I've got these special feet, okay, that need a 2-inch heel. I have a 3-inch heel. I need a little bit off. Okay, they didn't even want to go there. They didn't even want to touch that one.
They just helped us and it was done.
They just did it.
So.
No, these legs are great. I'm doing, I'm actually going back in a couple weeks to get some improvements. I want to get legs like these made for flat feet so I can wear sneakers, because I can't with these ones.
So
That's it.
that's Aimee Mullins.